We've got Jerome Corsi coming on later in the show, and he's going to be talking about Obama's amnesty order. Now, it was bad enough that he did an executive order, just bypassing Congress. And of course, he admitted to it. We talked about that yesterday, how they tried to walk back his comments when he was being protested by some illegal aliens who were criticizing him for not going farther. And he said, I changed the law for you. I changed the law for you. Well, executive orders are not about changing the law. Shouldn't be if we're going to have a democracy. Laws originate, of course, in Congress if we're going to have a nation that is run according to the rules, according to the Constitution that they swear to. But Jerome Corsi did a little bit of digging, and he found out something very interesting. He found that Obama had not even signed his executive order. So we've had Obama signing. Remember when he signed the NDAA on New Year's Eve? And then when he said he wasn't going to sign it, then he did sign it. Then he says, don't worry, I'm not going to enforce indefinite detention by the military without trial, without due process. Remember when he said that? Do you really trust, if you trust Obama to do that, if you're a Democrat? But of course, we have a dictator who basically thinks that he doesn't even need to sign his dictates. Of course, a dictator is somebody who the law comes out of their mouth. So why would he have to bother to even go through the process of even bothering to sign his executive orders? That's the deep contempt that he has for the rule of law. Dr. Corsi, thank you for joining us.
Great pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.
This is a very interesting case and is picked up by the Drudge Report. You've been a couple of days with this, and you verified with the National Archives librarian, Jeffrey Hartley, that yes, there has been no documentation filed about this executive order. Tell everybody about that.
Well, it started, I got tipped off by a good friend on Wall Street who called me up yesterday, very early in the day, and said, he couldn't find the executive order that Barack Obama signed implementing the speech on November 20th, when Obama addressed the nation and said he was going to recommend this deferred prosecution for the basically the illegal immigrant kids who have come into the United States, and to keep families together, basically. And I said, well, let me look for it. I started looking around. I said, well, I can't find it either. So about halfway through the day, I realized that there was some sleight of hand being played here by the White House, because what Obama had done was give the impression, the White House gave the impression. I mean, I'm getting the press releases from the White House, the pool reports. I'm looking through those. The general impression is that there's going to be an Obama executive order signed. Obama flies on the 21st to Vegas in the airplane. He signs 2 executive orders on immigration.
Wow.
And pool reporters are allowed to watch this, but no print reporters or reporters that would ask questions are allowed into the compartment in the Air Force One where President Obama is making the signatures. And so everybody just assumed that those were the executive orders implementing the deferred prosecution to allow these 5 million work authorization visas to be given to the parents of the Dreamers.
Yeah, that's what everybody was talking about. It's like a massive expansion of the Dreamer Act.
Right.
Everybody was talking about that. Everybody's saying he signed this executive order, and he's going back and forth saying that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because the 2 he signed had nothing to do with this. It had one, we created a task force to study new immigrants coming in the United States. The other said the secretaries of state and the secretaries of DHS should get together and find ways to save money and make more efficient the issuing of immigrant, non-immigrant visas. So neither one, and I found both of those in the presidential executive orders on the White House website filed appropriately. And I found the only implementing order had been a memo written by the Department of Human Services, Jay Johnson head, that was a memo instructing that they were going to do deferred prosecution on this class of, Dreamer parents for 3 years, only 3 years. And there was nothing else that did it. So I began really searching around and realized then that Johnson had signed this memo but had not filed it in the Federal Register, which is another problem because federal agencies making rules, new rules. They're supposed to file them for comment in the Federal Register. So this was all sleight of hand. This
So as
was
you
all
point out, is head fake, question mark.
head fake.
Obama never signed an amnesty order. It was a head fake, like his swearing to uphold the Constitution was a head fake, right?
Well, I think I've got another piece coming out shortly that tries to put this all together. But I think that the Obama people realized at the White House that they did not have the authority. Finally, they figured it out. As Obama has been saying for years, to change the law, which is what he wanted to do. So he kind of shuffled it off to Jay Johnson and said, "You change the law, and I'll make like I'm changing the law."
This is unbelievable. Here's a guy who, as we pointed out many times, he said 22 times, "I'm not a dictator. I can't just arbitrarily change the law." Then he says, "I changed the law." He talks about his executive amnesty that he's done. And then when he's heckled by people who wanted him to do more, he says, "Hey, I changed the law for y'all."
Well,
and then he comes back and says this colloquial speech, and yet he didn't even bother to sign or file any of this stuff that was all a head fake, right?
And so, I'm kind of, I think there's some serious legal ramifications of this, which is what I'm writing about today. And I think we're now living in the Gruber era after Jonathan Gruber, our MIT professor, has come out and blathered about how much smarter he is than all the rest of us, and he's so smart that he can pull off lying to us for our own good.
Yeah, we need to change his name and make it a verb. We say we Grubered the data, we tortured it in a purpose to lie and to deceive. And I guess we could say that Obama Grubered his executive order.
Obama Grubered amnesty. It's a story. Obama Gruber, he didn't do any executive order. All just a big head fake. I mean, thanks everybody for listening to the November 20th speech from the East Room of the Oval Office. Nice big central hall behind him. Was really an impressive facade,